What's going on, everyone? My name is Red. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to show all of you what's going on in my head when I'm making a chart. So I'm going to start this chart completely blank and I'm going to fill it up as we go, and I'm going to be taking notes as to some important things going on in certain time periods, and you're all going to bear witness to what I'm thinking whenever I'm building a new chart. So with that being said, the question that I have for today is Bitcoin ready for $5,000? Okay, starting off at $6,000 when we had this huge spill, we had Bitcoin break our most significant support level that we've had through all of 2018. I'm going to draw a white line. We can draw it a little lower, around 6,100. Once we fell, we had Bitcoin get this huge surge in volume. Okay, a lot of it was sell side volume, but it was still a lot of volume. That's always nice to see. So I want you to take note of this surge in volume, and it's slowly declining, so keep in mind that it's declining over time. Great. Now I'm going to take out the volume so that you can all see and nothing gets in the way. One thing that I want you guys to take note of is our support level. We have our lowest low. That was not what I wanted to draw. Let's get rid of that. We're going to do a horizontal ray from our, I'm going to do it over here actually. So this right here is our most recent support level. This is where we bounced off of when we were selling off so rapidly. We did catch a little bit of support here, but I don't, it's not our lowest low. The lowest low is probably the most important thing right now. Next, I want you to take note of our most recent swing high. Okay, so red for resistance, green for support. Next, I'm going to look at any significant resistance levels that we've had for Bitcoin. I'm going to make that blue. So over here you can see that we have overhead resistance of 43, almost 44, 44, 42, and then 41. And then over here we have lower levels of support as Bitcoin was falling. So this makes a descending Browning wedge. Bitcoin is currently stuck in here until we break to the upside. So with that being said, we're going to focus on everything that's inside the descending Browning wedge until we finally break out. Now, before I pull up any indicators, I'm going to take note of anything significant, any chart patterns that happened while Bitcoin was running through this descending Browning wedge. We have a pennant forming right under the overhead resistance right there. We have overhead resistance here and here, and we have support here, here, here. We have lots of level of support here. To me, it did look like Bitcoin was going to break to the upside. At the time when I was watching this, I saw volume increasing, and that's always a good sign that you want to see. Then once Bitcoin had this moment of indecision going on, and to me it looked like, okay, maybe we're going to drop down again. Okay, so Bitcoin broke down bearishly, consolidated, went sideways for a few days, dropped, then had it pretty decent upsurge, dropped a little bit again. Then we had our most recent pump of Bitcoin. Not really much of a pump, that's not really too impressive, but what is impressive is the decline in volume. So we have this small pump in Bitcoin, but volume still declining. That was pretty much our biggest candle that we had. And not only that, but we have a pretty sizable wick, and every time Bitcoin tried to jump above the 200 moving average, kept getting rejected. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's draw some overhead resistance, and then over here we're going to draw some support. So this to me is a rising wedge, a bearish pattern that Bitcoin has. We're going to draw it green because rising wedges are uptrends, technically. Okay. What else do we want to take note of? Anything majorly significant before we pull up the indicators. Alright, so for the time being, that's all I see right now. We are going to pull up the indicators. So I have two indicators. I have the MACD histogram without the lines, and I have the RSI. Okay, just the standard MACD, standard RSI. Keep it simple. So let's take a step back from when this all started. When we made our lowest low of the year, and then when we had our first swing high. So we dropped to $3,100, rose up to $4,200. What happened during that time period? We had increasing levels of bearish divergence. We had big surge in momentum, and then every time price action rose, our momentum kept declining. Okay, it's supposed to be a bearish signal. Then we have our two most recent highs right here. We have price action of $4,000 to $4,200. We're going to mark that on our RSI as well, because we have conflicting results. We have our MACD histogram getting lower levels of positive momentum along with our RSI. Same thing. RSI could not go over the previous high that we had. Okay. All this really meant is that Bitcoin was ready for a break, for a pause in this uptake that Bitcoin had. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a very bearish signal, but it just meant that Bitcoin was ready to take a break from everything that was going on. So Bitcoin made our next level of overhead resistance, dropped a little bit, then as we were moving sideways, we kept making higher highs. The prices kept coiling in, couldn't break that high. We have a lower high and a higher low coiling in price, forming this little pennant here. Broke down bearishly, bad obviously, and now we're in an ascending wedge with Bitcoin. Where does this fall in? Over here, when Bitcoin was rising in price action, we want to take note of the support over here on the RSI. We're gonna make that a solid white. So Bitcoin bounced on this support 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 times. I mentioned this in an earlier video where Bitcoin ended up falling through down here, and now our previous support is becoming resistance. Breaking over this line of resistance would be very bullish for Bitcoin. It'd be a great sign, something that obviously we all want to see. So I'm going to focus on what's been happening very recently here. We have overhead resistance on our RSI. We have this big surge in momentum here, positive momentum. And then we have lower levels of positive momentum, which is showing signs of bearish divergence. Okay, we have a higher price action, which is cool, that's great, but we have lower positive momentum. So this to me looks like it fits the behavior of a rising wedge perfectly. We're gonna have lower levels of positive momentum as price action continues to rise. Let me get the marker out. We're pretty much going to bounce like this until we fall to the downside or break to the upside. Chances are for this, we're going to break to the downside. Let's take that off. Let's take a look at volume. So during this time period, we have volume slowly declining. The only thing that we've had, any positivity from this move has been that one candle. And this one candle kind of worries me because it is a pretty decently long wick, and we kept getting rejected here at the 200 moving average. So that to me is a bearish sign. So with all that being said, when I'm looking at this, since everything is looking more towards the bearish side, we haven't been able to make a higher high. but we haven't retested our support level yet. I'm looking to maybe get in my optimal entry point for Bitcoin. Let me pull up that thing. Here we go, rectangle. Would it be anywhere between 3,100 to 3,300. I'm gonna make that blue. Alright, now the reason why I say that is because signs that I'm looking for sort of bullish sign for Bitcoin is for Bitcoin to make anywhere between a high or low. So it would fall anywhere between here or double bottom here at our previous lowest low. If Bitcoin were to drop and then bounce off our previous support level and then start rising back up, then that would be a bullish signal. If it were to drop again and then go anywhere here and then start going back up, that would also be a bullish signal. It means that people are willing to buy at these prices. That is your most optimal entry point for Bitcoin. But for now, it's not looking too good for Bitcoin. Right now, what I'm looking at is a good opportunity to short. I'm thinking that if we break under this rising wedge, the most optimal entry point would be pretty much as soon as we break out of the wedge. But since Bitcoin rises and falls so fast, you probably won't be able to catch that. So if you were to, well, not you, I'm sorry, me, I'm looking to get in somewhere in this rising wedge, hopefully the higher the better, and start a new short entry. So my stop loss, what I'm thinking is would be 3,900. You know what, let's extend this. Our rising wedge does actually fall nicely with our overhead resistance. The rising, that's pretty much where the rising wedge ends. So looking for to get in anywhere in the rising wedge, and then stop loss would be 3,900, and then my targets would be pretty much where my buy entry is for Bitcoin. Let me get that out. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay, short somewhere along the high side of this rising wedge, wait for it to break down, and then set up individual targets as it falls. See how everything writes out. Now, aside from all of this, I also have two other MACD indicators that I also trade with. One of them is used for entries, and the other is used for breaks in trends or trend reversals or anything trend related to momentum and price action. So I don't really have a lot of time to explain exactly how this works, so I might work a little fast. But something to take note of is over here we have a double top in our momentum. Couldn't break past our previous high. Even though that is a double top, it is looking like, let me pull this out. It's looking like we have an ascending triangle. Ascending triangle is usually a bullish signal. It means that even though we're not making any higher highs, we are making higher lows. So I'm gonna wait and see if this trend over here breaks to the downside. Breaking below this would probably mean that we're breaking out of this ascending wedge a lot sooner. The next thing that we want to keep up with is some overhead resistance for our trends. Right here, this seems to be a very popular level for Bitcoin to top out at. Take a look at where it is. 1, 2, lines up with our descending Browning wedge. The only bullish thing that I have seen for Bitcoin right now is that we are over the MACD 0 line. No serious sell side signals happening right now. for our long-term MACD. The settings for these are different. I'll go over that in another video though. A couple main things that I'm looking at is any bullish signal break this overhead resistance. That would be great. First bullish signal, then going above our MACD trend line, going above this white line would be great. Any bearish signals breaking below this green line, breaking out of this ascending wedge. We can still, it wouldn't be too crazy for Bitcoin to go all the way to 3,800 and then it could still be considered bearish, okay, because it's still in the pattern that we have over here. We want Bitcoin to break out of this descending Browning wedge so we can get a good signal for Bitcoin. That means that Bitcoin is ready for higher prices. Get rid of this. I'm gonna get rid of this for now too. I see a channel forming for Bitcoin. We have a parallel channel. Matches our overhead resistance along with, there we go. This is what I see for Bitcoin. Let's make this smaller. So the question that I had for you is Bitcoin ready for 5,000? Again, take a look at what's going on. Bitcoin in this ascending wedge pattern, bearish, usually a bearish pattern. It's still inside the descending Browning wedge. Has yet to retest our lowest low of support, which is 3,100, or at least get near it. Making a higher low or double bottoming and then going back up here at 3,100 would be good, but we still haven't gotten that yet. We haven't really tested our new support level. It is also possible that we'll break down and make a new lower low, but we're not there yet. Let's take a look and see what happens if we can hold or not. So that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum. I'm not going to start this one brand new because I don't want to take too much time going over this. I also want to talk about a couple other things. Just a couple things to keep in mind for Ethereum is we were in this ascending channel after Ethereum bottomed out at $80, very similarly to Bitcoin. A lot of this is going to be very similar to Bitcoin, except Ethereum does move faster than Bitcoin. So it went from $80 to $160, a 100% increase. For really anything that moves up, that's a fantastic payout. Ethereum ended up double topping at 160, dropping here, making first anchor point for this channel that I had for Ethereum. Went back up, could not break above 160. That was our overhead resistance that we had, and over here you can see from the first time we made it near 160, we have our highest level of positive momentum. Over here it's a little bit subjective because you can say that it's a double top, or you can say that it's a high and then a higher high over here based on how you trade or how you look at charts. Whatever you think it is, it doesn't matter because the end result is the same. Our next attempted rally to break above our highest high ended up failing, ended up breaking down, reaching the bottom of this channel and then breaking down the channel. We broke out of it, back into the channel for a brief period of time, then we broke out, and we still have not been able to break back into the channel. Okay, some things I was keeping up with for Ethereum were any possible levels of support on our RSI, anything shifting with our MACD, but nothing's really happening. We have our highest level of positive momentum after breaking up back into the channel. We have lower positive momentum and then slightly higher positive momentum, which makes sense. It all coincides. Price action and MACD indicator are following each other, as well as the RSI. So well, actually over here we have a slightly higher high. Have a very slightly higher high on our RSI. We're gonna wait and see how that turns out, but to me it's still looking pretty bearish. I want to see Ethereum break out of this overhead resistance that we have here at 160, again at 159, and then again here at 151. Your most optimal entry for some sort of short would be the closer it gets to this overhead resistance, and then your exit would be, your stop loss would be above it. But there's really not much going on with Ethereum. It's been moving pretty dully over time. That's pretty much it for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look at some news on what's happening. So this is a nice article that I found that's been happening throughout this entire week for the crypto space. Some of these are fluff pieces, but some of them are actually pretty interesting. Russia's not buying Bitcoin, fluff. DX exchange's shady past, Ethereum's hard fork, that wasn't, and this week in crypto. Pretty much everything that happened in crypto this week. So, crypto media clings to the story of Russian government buying Bitcoin. CCN asked for proof. CCN started the week off by debunking a mythical, impending $10 billion Bitcoin purchase on the part of the Russian government. PH Matter received backlash for the article, which listed some of the sites which sensationalized the dubious claims of a little-known Russian economist. Okay, a few days later, CCN doubled down on our positivity that Russia has made no official announcement as regards buying a large block of Bitcoin. One thing remains clear: the Russian government has not officially announced plans to buy Bitcoin as a hedge against anything at all. As far as we know, Bitcoin is still going to go through regulatory process in the former communist country. A Russian official did speak to the issue of Bitcoin overregulation this week. However, there's probably some link to... Okay, yeah, that's the link to that. We're just going to skip that part. I don't think it's too important right now. So, let's talk about real quick about Ethereum's Constantinople fork delay. Security flaws lead to Ethereum Constantinople delay. I'm going to give you a very rundown version of what's going on with Ethereum right now. Basically, they were scheduled for an update, and with the update, they discovered a bug which could potentially lead nefarious actors to steal other users' funds on the Ethereum network. Obviously, that is a huge security breach and something that should be, patched up very soon. Very glad that they found this bug, but it is a little uneasy to know that something like this could happen very near its release date. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. That's all I have for you for today. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Bitcoin. I will update you guys if anything significant happens with Bitcoin or anything major in the market. So thank you for tuning in, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell so you can get notified when I'm doing my live streams or when a new video comes out. When I do my live streams, you'll be able to keep up with me and ask me any questions you'd like, and I'll be able to share all of my trades and any information that I have for you with you guys. So thank you again, and take care.